Hi, my name is Chris Robinson, the Executive Vice President of the John Maxwell team. Now, I don't have a ton of time with you here today, but in my time, I want you to get one thing and one thing only. Your best days are ahead of you. Now, I want you to get this. I want you to say this to yourself. My best days are ahead of you. Here recently, I began to do what I do each and every single year as I began to close out the year by taking a little bit of time to do some reflection. I want to go back and I want to review the year because I want to take and pull the wisdom and the gold from my past so that I can invest it in my future. You see, a former pastor of mine said this. He said, if you can't tell me the lessons that you learned last year, you're going to have to repeat them this year. Now, I don't know about you, but there's not many lessons that I want to repeat this year, so I want to make sure that I have learned those lessons in that previous year. Well, this year, I began to do something a little bit different. A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to spend some time with John Maxwell, and each and every single year as a part of my reflection process, what I do is I go through my phone and I begin to look at photos so I can take a little bit of time for gratitude throughout the year to kind of think about the good that happened throughout the year. But a couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to see John Maxwell speak, and John was speaking from photos from his phone where he took some time this year, not just for gratitude, but lessons that he learned. And I was so excited. I said, I'm going to add that to my repertoire of reflection, and I'm going to begin to look at these photos for the lessons that I learned. Well, I found myself looking at the photos, and very quickly I picked up an instant theme. You see, the very first photo that I looked at was from January 4th. See, I was preparing to move down to Florida, and I was looking for a home at that time. And as I looked at that photo, I realized that in that moment, I had no idea where I was going to be living. In that photo, I was in a park about an hour, 10 minutes away from where I actually live today. But in that moment, it captured me. I did not have any idea where I was going to be. The next photo that caught my attention was a conference in Ontario, California. Now, in that photo, I did not know that that was going to be the last event in person that I was going to speak at in 2020. The world was changing, and I had no idea what was getting ready to happen. So what began to happen was as I looked at these photos, I kept getting this theme of I didn't know what was going to happen next. As I looked at this next set of photos, it was in March 18th. And that was the time that I did not know that my kids were not going back to school, and myself and my wife were about to become full-time teachers. Lord Jesus, help me. I did not know that they weren't going back. As I moved throughout the year, I look at this photo of us speaking at a virtual event where it was going to be the largest event held in John Maxwell team history online. But I did not know. As I look at the last photo of my family here, I look at that photo and I did not know the peace, the joy that I was going to have of these 7 healthy, whole individuals in my life on December 7th of this year. You see, as I look throughout those images and as I look at this past year, I kept having the recurring theme of I did not know. But what I do know, after all of realizing what I don't know, I do know that God is faithful. I do know that God is a provider. I do know that there is more in store. I do know that there's more in store, good and bad. But what I do know is that our best days are ahead of us. If you believe that, type that in the chat because I believe that for you. Our best days are ahead of us, even though we don't know what's coming ahead.